Okay, so this is a quick discussion on non-cost system. And before we go to your different costing systems, let's first discuss what is a non-cost system. Okay, now when we say non-cost system, this is normally used by management, okay, by a manufacturing firm. Management of a manufacturing firm when they simply want to prepare financial statements at the end of the year. Okay? And they may only be interested in the total production cost, total cost of goods manufactured, and total cost of goods sold. Sometimes they just want to come up with the total cost of goods sold because this is the only item shown in the income statement. Okay? Wala na yung yung production cost and cost of goods manufactured. So if that's the only objective of the management, then they may opt to use the non-cost system. Now, under this system, the flow of costs are not actually accounted. Well, it's actually accounted naman. It's just that it's minimal. Okay? The periodic inventory system is used to arrive at the ending balances of the inventory, such as your raw materials, work in process, and finished goods. And these ones are already discussed, no, in our earlier videos, so that the cost of goods manufactured and sold can be computed. Sometimes, no, pag minsan hayaan na natin yung cost of goods manufactured, they just focus on your CGS. Unit costs are usually computed by dividing the total cost of goods manufactured by the number of units produced. Okay, so ayun. That's one of the common questions for non-cost system. How much is the unit cost? Okay, so what do they do? Ayan na po yung formula natin. Unit costs are computed sa inyo by dividing the total cost of goods manufactured. Total cost of goods manufactured, you divide that by the number of units produced. Okay, and what do you get? You now have your unit cost, just in case you need that for financial reporting. In this system, there is poor control over costs and inventories. No, pilferage and wastage may go undetected and will be absorbed by the cost of goods sold. Ayan, kaya kung meron man tayong, let's say, loss, no, loss during the production, o yan, o kaya merong nawala lang, nasira, ayan, kaya everything will be absorbed by your CGS. Okay, so ayun, yun yung mga important features of non-cost system. Although kahit na non-cost system yan, okay, all the necessary costs are still there, okay, and kailangan nating intindihin para mas maintindihan natin yung mga major costing systems, which are your job order costing and process costing. Okay, so some preliminaries. Okay, as of this point, you should know the different types of inventories. Okay, these ones were already discussed earlier. Okay, your raw materials, hindi pa na umpisahan, hindi pa nagamit. Okay, work in process, raw materials na naumpisahan na, okay, pero hindi pa pwedeng ibenta. And then you have your finished goods. And then you should know what are your manufacturing costs, no? Like direct materials. So is it, I think it's the same, raw materials and direct materials. Okay, magkaiba po yan. When we say raw materials, we're talking about the inventory. No, direct materials, these are your materials used. Okay, sometimes you will see some books, no, or sometimes you will hear it from instructors, yung term na direct materials used. Medyo redundant, di ba? When we say materials used, we are already pertaining to direct materials. Okay, so yun. Direct labor, this is the cost of the labor used in production, and the factory overhead. All your indirect costs, no, used in production, they are classified as your factory overhead. Again, these were discussed earlier. Also, you should know the items affecting your raw materials inventory or the value of your raw materials. Okay, Of course, it starts with the purchases. Okay, this is the account title used, no, used to account for the acquisition of raw materials. And then you have your freight, no, especially freight in, because we have different kinds of freight charges, diba? You have freight in, freight out. Oh, ayan. Okay, we'll just focus on freight in. Okay, you have the purchase returns, allowances, and discounts, okay, which will reduce the value of your raw materials. And then you have the materials used or issued, also known as direct materials. Okay, also you should know the items affecting the work in process inventory, such as your direct materials, direct labor, factory overhead, and cost of goods sold. Okay, and then the items found in our finished goods, okay, or finished goods inventory, like cost of goods manufactured, and then what is cost of goods sold. Ayan. You should know what is net purchase. Okay, we're going to discuss that later. Okay. And your total materials available for use, also known as TMAU, TMAU. What is the total cost placed in process? Okay. Your total goods available for sale. What are prime costs? Okay, we already discussed this earlier, no? What are prime costs? These are your direct materials plus your direct labor. Conversion cost, this is actually your direct labor, and direct labor plus your factory overhead. And your total manufacturing cost, this is actually your direct materials plus direct labor plus your factory overhead. Okay, and also, no, as of this point, okay, you should know what is the producing department. Ayan, what are servicing departments. Okay, what is a payroll account and the factory overhead control account. All of these are essential, no, in learning the difference of your non-cost system and your cost system. Okay, this one siguro you will appreciate this when we go to our costing systems, no? Job order costing and process costing. Okay, so stay with me. Mabilis lang po ito. The cost flow normally starts, no, in the storeroom of raw materials. Okay, why? What happens? Okay, normally there will be purchases, you know. So, ayan. Okay, and your purchases, the value of your raw materials, no, the value of your raw materials purchased, okay, will be increased by the freight that is incurred. Syempre, this will increase the value of your materials. No, even if the cost is, let's say, 100 pesos, but, okay, let's say delivery charges are 76, di ba? O parang Lazada lang, you have to pay for 176. Okay, so that's now your gross purchase. Ayan. And your gross purchase will be further reduced naman by purchase returns, okay, allowances, and discounts. So the normal question that I get here is, sir, what's the difference of purchase returns and purchase allowances? When we say purchase returns, okay, there is an actual movement of inventory. Okay, so it was actually returned. But for purchase allowances, okay, there will just be a deduction in the value. So for example, let's say there is wrong delivery. Oh, ayan, okay, the supplier delivered an item which is different from what was ordered. So, what will the company say, no? Or what will they do? They're going to call the supplier. Sasabihin, sir, isoli naman namin yung binili namin because you delivered the wrong item. 10 of the items are different, no? This is not what we ordered. Okay? If for example, you're supposed to pay 100 pesos for each item, and then the item delivered has a cost of 50 pesos lang, no? So if they are actually returned, ayan, so soli mo yan, may ibabawas. Pero pag minsan, the supplier will say, no need to return, no? We will just reduce your liability to us. So magkakaroon na tayo ng purchase allowance. So instead of paying 100 pesos per unit, okay, why don't you just pay 50 pesos per unit? Okay, kasi yun naman talaga yung value. Okay, so if they both agreed, no, wag nang iswaling inventory, bawasan na lang natin yung utang. Okay, and of course, purchase discounts, no, if your purchases, no, were purchased on credit, and then, okay, you paid them ahead of time, tapos the supplier kay offered a discount to you for paying ahead of time, then that is now what you call purchase discount. Okay, so ayun. Now, if you deduct the total of these three to your gross purchase, you will now have your net purchase. Ayan. I think I have an illustration here. Okay, so wala, pag may T accounts yan, di ba? So, T accounts of raw materials. Ayan. Paano po? Since this is an asset, you will have the beginning and ending inventories there, no? So, you have the beginning, then ending inventories. Pag minsan, you can go directly, no, on this side and post your net purchases. Pero pag iniisa-isa mo yan, pwede rin naman. You have a debit to purchases, then you also have a debit to freight in. Okay, especially pag perpetual tayo, no? Pero kapag periodic, kasi nga non-cost system, di na natin to ginagawa. We just compute for the net purchase, okay? Anyway, so you have here your purchase, returns, allowances, and discounts. So, yan. So, if you get the total on this side, okay, less the total on this side, syempre may difference yan, you will now have your direct materials. Ayan, so you have here your total. Ayan. Ito na yung computation ng net purchase. That 3. So, another way to show this is, if you have here your T accounts of raw materials, you have the beginning balance, and then you have here your ending balance. Pasensya na sa sulat, no? Kunyari maganda yung sulat ko. Add your net purchase. Diba? This is now your direct material or your materials used. The total of these two is known as TMAU, total materials available for use. Okay? So that's now the total materials available for use. Okay, so now you have your net purchase. Siya na to. You have the beginning raw materials inventory. This is the total materials that you can use in your production for the current period. If you deduct the ending raw materials inventory, okay, the amount that you did not use, syempre, this is the total that you can use. This is the amount that you didn't use. So, the difference will be the amount that you used. So, that's now your raw materials. Ito medyo mali na naman yan. Raw materials used pala. Okay. Tama lang naman pala. So, that's your direct materials or raw materials used. But we don't use direct materials used. So, yun. Anyway. Now, from the storeroom to factory, okay, your raw materials used or your direct materials, okay, syempre, you're going to incur direct labor and overhead. This is now what you call your conversion cost, the cost that you need to incur to convert direct materials into finished goods. This one is your prime cost naman. Okay, this one is your prime cost. Pulin nga natin yan. Just to be consistent, you have here your prime cost, okay, and the total is now your total manufacturing cost, also known as your cost this period. Okay, so napansin nyo, no, from raw materials, dahil nagamit, naging direct materials, it's now in the factory. Okay, now your total manufacturing cost, okay, yung tatlo kanina, you add that to the beginning work in process inventory, you will have your total cost placed in process. This is the total amount that you can use for this period. No, you can finish for this period kung natapos mo. Okay, less yung hindi mo natapos, ending work in process, di ba? You now have your cost of goods manufactured. So as of this point, you should know what is work in process. Work in process is actually, ano ba? Okay, the total cost put into process, di ba? You have your raw materials, they were already started, okay, you already incurred direct materials, and direct labor and factory overhead, yan, pero hindi pa siya tapos. Okay, that's why it's a work in process. Yan, so your total cost placed in process, this is how much you can finish for the current period. This will go to your finished goods sana if you finish them. Okay, so less work in process ending inventory, okay, yung hindi mo nagawa this period, ibig sabihin, ito lang yung natapos mo. And this will now go to your finished goods. Okay? So, from your factory to your sales room. Okay? Finished goods na siya. So, you have your cost of goods manufactured, no, from the previous slide. Okay, you add the beginning finished goods inventory, and this is the total goods that you can sell for the current period. Okay, pero hindi mo nabebenta lahat. So, you have to deduct the ending finished goods inventory. Okay? Ibig sabihin, the difference is now your cost of goods sold. Okay? And this will now go to your income statement. Pag minsan, ito lang naman yung kailangan nila eh. Especially those who are in the periodic inventory system. Okay? They just need this, okay, so that they can prepare their income statement. Okay po? So, okay, this is now your cheat sheet. Yan, i-screen capture nyo na, i-print nyo na, okay, idikit ninyo sa mga pader ninyo so that it will be easier for you to memorize, okay, the basic cost flow, no? The basic cost flow for manufacturing. So, first, you have the different inventories, okay, since these are your inventories. Raw materials, yan, work in process and finished goods. Dahil inventories yan, these are assets. So, you have your beginning balance on that side and ending balance on this side. So, yun yung common sa kanilang tatlo. Tatandaan nyo yun. Okay, so what are the things that will affect the value of your raw materials? You have your purchases and freight in. Okay, this will be reduced by returns, allowances, and discounts. The difference will be your direct materials, which will go there. Ayan. Kung perpetual ka, debit to work in process, credit to raw materials, di ba? And then you have your direct labor, okay, this one will come from your payroll account, no, plus factory overhead. Ano ulit to? This two is now your prime cost, okay, while this two is known as your conversion cost. But parang malabo na naman. Ayan, okay, so the total for this is now your total cost placed in process. Okay, what about your total materials available for use? As of this point, I want to emphasize the total on this side is different from this one. This one is your total materials available for use if you add your net purchase to the beginning balance. Okay, tatandaan nyo yun. Okay, because this one is a common error, no? In the quiz, for example, compute for the total materials available for use. And a common error is this one. This is the answer of the student. So, mali. This is your total materials available for use. Take note that your net purchases is actually, ayan, siya to. Your purchases, freight in less, your purchase returns, allowances, and discounts. Okay po? So, siya yun. Now, let's continue. Your cost of goods manufactured. So, tapos na. Ito yung pwede mo tapusin. Okay, this is what you haven't finished for this period. So, your cost of goods manufactured, since yan yung natapos, it will now go to your finished goods inventory. Okay? You add that to your beginning balance and you will get your total goods available for sale. Okay. Less the ending balance of your finished goods, yung hindi mo nabenta, you will now have your cost of goods sold. Ayan. Tara! O, diba? Ang dali. Okay. So, ayun, let's have a short moment for you to internalize that. And then, you should also be able to visualize, no? Mag-practice kayo. Pag sinabing cost flow, okay, manufacturing, okay, so ano yun? First, bilisan natin. Alam mo dapat yung tatlong inventories. What are these three inventories, diba? You have your raw materials, you have here your work in process, and you have here your finished goods. Okay, since these are all assets, and these are inventories kasi, di ba? You have here the beginning balance and ending balance. Okay, so lagay natin beginning balance, ending balance, beginning balance, ending balance. O, di ba? Madaling intindihin, ano? Okay, so you have the beginning balance and ending balance on those sides. Na-discuss na rin sa basic accounting natin why your beginning balance is found on the debit side while the ending balance, okay, is just posted on the credit side, but it doesn't mean that it has a credit balance. Nilalagay lang dyan para mag-equal yung total debits and total credits natin. Okay, so starting with your raw materials, di ba? What are the items that affects your raw materials? You have here your kunyari, sinasabayan nyo ako purchases. That will increase your raw materials inventory. It will also be increased by the value of your freight in. Okay? It will be reduced by the value of your purchase, returns, allowances, and discounts. Ayun. And the difference will now be your direct material. Okay? Which will now go to your work in process. Ayan. Okay? So your direct materials, no? So your direct materials together with your direct labor, and then your factory overhead. This is now your total manufacturing cost. Ulitin natin yan, ha. Paulit-ulit lang. Total manufacturing cost. This is now your prime cost. This is now your conversion cost. Okay? You get the total. This one is your total cost placed in process. Again, I want to emphasize that this one is just the total. Wait lang, burahin natin to para consistent naman. Okay, burahin natin yan. Okay, so you have here your direct materials. Okay. Again, this one is not your total materials available for use. This is just a total. Walang pangalan yan, no? Walang pangalan yan. If you want to compute for your total materials available for use, okay, you have here the beginning balance. Okay. Wait lang. For consistency daw. Sige. Burahin natin yan. Okay. So, you have here your beginning balance. Ending balance. And then, you have here your net purchase. Net purchase. You'll have here your, what is this? This is now your total materials available for use. Okay? Ayan. And this one will now be your, ano ulit to? This is your direct material. Okay. So, as of this point, sana malinaw yan. Total materials available for use. Total cost placed in process. Okay. So, you get the total. You also have another total here. Ayan. Okay, so that's your total cost placed in process. You deduct the ending balance, and what will you get here? You will get your cost of goods manufactured, which will now go to your finished goods. Cost of goods manufactured. Okay, the total of these two is now your total goods available for sale. So from your total goods available for sale, tada! Okay, so ano na yung ilalagay natin dito? You will now have your cost dito lang. Cost of goods sold. Okay? Practicein ninyo to. Okay? na dapat mabilis lang. Okay, so lagay-lagay lang yung T accounts. So I guess that's it, no? That's it for today. Now from your T accounts, you can already recreate the journal entries if you're going to use the perpetual inventory system. But for periodic, okay, pag minsan wala yung mga yan, okay, you just want to compute for your CGS, okay, you can use this approach, or you can use this approach, or you can have the following formula. Okay po, so ayun, if you have any questions, ayan, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask them. Kunyari nag-e-enjoy tayo ngayon, ano ba feeling ko ngayon? Yung feeling ko okay naman ako ngayon. Makapal pa rin yung bibig ko, as usual. Magulo pa rin yung buhok ko. Okay, so let's all have a nice day.